Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Hayden Raven, and welcome to A Conscious Decision. Now, I've played multiple games by this developer, so I'm going to link her page down in the description below. She's got some really good stuff, and I really think you should check it out. But for now, we're going to get on to this one. Now, this one, I believe, is her most developed game thus far. It's got voice acting, music, and a couple other elements I'm not used to, but all the same, let's just hop right into this and find out what kind of text-based adventure that we have for today. You are a wisp of consciousness in Jane's mind. Choose a location to explore. Explore cerebral cortex, part of the brain in charge of perception, thought, voluntary movement, language. Or explore amygdala. Yes, I know how to say amygdala. Part of the brain responsible for processing emotions like fear. That sounds like my daily life, so here we go. Location, amygdala. It's empty. Is that even normal? Shouldn't there be some sort of fear in everybody? Fear of heights, fear of big open skies, fear of death. Maybe there's some sort of hidden fear somewhere. What do you do? Trigger the amygdala in an attempt to find Jane's hidden fear. Do nothing. Let's start getting in here and start breaking things, shall we? A storm of black swirling chaos is released and closes in on all sides. You're trapped and face imminent annihilation. Hurry, what do you do? Escape to the cerebral cortex. Trigger the release of serotonin. Oh, trigger the release of dopamine. Serotonin, dopamine. Serotonin, you see, this is the happiness drug, and then I forget what serotonin does, so I'm gonna go with dopamine. The burst of dopamine repels the black cloud to whence it came. Huzzah! Now what? The burst of dopamine repels it to whence it came. You are saved, not to mention that you feel a gratifying sense of pleasure and reward. Shall we? You desire more of this great feeling. Trigger the release of more dopamine. No! Too much of a good thing is bad. Well, it's a false choice, really. How so? Dopamine is addictive, so you give in to your desire for just a little more. The dopamine can make Jane happy, your rationales, especially since she is so sad, so mad, so close to the final straw, the edge. So trigger the release of more dopamine? Of course! I'm sorry, I didn't say that with the most foolishness I could. Of course! There we go. Huzzah! Of course! Huzzah! The sensation of pleasure grows, but it only makes you crave for more. 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 More! There goes my heart in my throat. I don't know why that scared me. It just did. Okay. But, you trigger the release of higher and higher levels of dopamine until suddenly you don't feel so good anymore. The intense pleasure is replaced by an intense paranoia. Uh-oh. You start to see ghosts in the occipital cortex. Hear distorted voices in the auditory cortex, people mocking you, people screaming at you, people hitting you with canes, those shadows of her past tormentors, especially a man. Oh. The man. This is really cool. I'm really enjoying this. As you spend the remainder of your days running from the hallucinations you unleash, Jane is diagnosed with schizophrenia or perhaps PTSD. Sad end number 2. Of course, that's going to be the first ending I ever get in this game. Let me redo this and go back to the beginning. So, of course, I'm going to repeat my trigger of breaking things, and this time, trigger the serotonin. A breeze of serotonin wafts in, blows away the black storm clouds of terror, and wends its way to Jane's cortex. You feel bliss, and sense Jane step backwards away from the edge of the building. Well done, my little wisp of consciousness. Why with the slow clapping?
Well done, my little wisp of consciousness. You have saved her life. But only this once. Who will save her the next time? And the next time. And the time after.
This is creepy. Bittersweet end. Okay then. Oh, so this is all building up to one moment. I didn't understand. Cerebral cortex. The blackness, the stain of past horrors creeping forwards, closing in. It's coming for you. It is coming. The abject terror you have unleashed causes Jane to need to bolt somewhere out of instinct. Run forward, run backward. I'm gonna say because of where she is, run backward. I do believe. You sense the thump, thump, thump of Jane's feet as she stumbles backward frantically over the concrete into the stairwell. But this does not help you escape from the storm of black terror you have unleashed in her mind. As she cowers in fear at a corner of the stairwell, the black swirls discover you hiding place in Jane's cortex and extinguish the light of your consciousness. From thence on, Jane lives crippled by perpetual anxiety, a shell of her former self. You monster, what have you done? What have you done? Sad end 1. Wow. So I've gotten 2 sad endings and the bittersweet. Let's see what else we can cause a ruckus of. Escape to the cerebral cortex. Okay, so I've already released the 2 drugs, but this time I'm going to run forward. I am going to go the completionist route. There's 6 endings to this, I believe. Run forward. Next thing you know, you see the scenery rushing upward in a blur, the ground racing up to meet you. You hear a crunch of flesh against the ground. And that's as I thought. Then darkness. I know this is very serious, but that's kind of funny. Jane is dead, you are dead. But as a wisp of consciousness, were you even alive in the first place? Bad end 1. Interesting, very interesting. Oh my, okay, so... Whoa. We have so much more to explore now. Occipital auditory motor cortex associated with voluntary movement. You're bored of exploring the cerebral cortex. Let's move on to the amygdala. You see, now we've already been to the amygdala, and I think we've explored everything in there. So let me go to the occipital, or the eyes, what you can see. Yes, I took Psychology 101. Looking out through Jane's eyes, you see a sea of miniature buildings in the expanse beneath you, framed by a golden sunset. You can't help but admire the beautiful scene before your eyes. Okay, auditory cortex, associated with music and hearing, and wonderful auditory cues, of such as that is such. You hear wind rushing by. Probably somewhere high up. Yes, you are. I know where you are. Motor cortex. You are in full control of Jane's motor cortex. What would you like her to do? It would be prudent to explore Jane's circumstances before jumping to hasty action through. Quite literally jumping. Take 1 step forward, stay still. Prudent choice, let us go on. Okay, so I'm going to take 1 step forward to get the second bad ending, I do believe. Nothing happens. Take another step. Again, nothing happens. Okay then. What are you and Jane doing up here anyway? Take another step. There it goes. Okay. So that's still bad ending number 1. I know it's terrible. I know it's bad. It's just... It's kind of funny. I'm enjoying myself here. Okay. You're bored with the exploring the cerebral cortex. Let's move on to the amygdala. Well, I've been here. I do believe I've explored everything about this. Do nothing. Okay, so this is something I did not do. I did not do the nothing. The amygdala remains eerily blank and quiet. Something is wrong, but you don't know what. You want to leave immediately. Proceed to explore the hippocampus. Here we go. Part of the brain associated with memory. The hippocampus. You see many tendrils of memory adrift, like smoke curling off a charred leaf. You see, let me go ahead and make my assumption, or my proposition. That is that the amygdala is blank because she does not fear death. She does not fear taking that step off that building. She does not fear anything. She is living in a moment at which point that there is no return. That's what I believe. Recall Jane's happiest memory or recall Jane's bad memories. Let's have some water first before we get sound. An image of Jane being hoisted on the shoulders of her teammates as she lifts a huge gold trophy lights up her mind. Her first race. Her first win. You sense Jane take a step backward, away from the edge that so calls to her. Her parents are in the stands cheering for her. Her teachers are beaming at her. Another step backwards. But then she remembers the divorce, the fall, the blank. Everything going wrong. Darkness floods into her mind, washing you, this puny speck of her consciousness, away into oblivion. And she throws herself off the building.
That temporary happiness was never enough to save her. I hope you realize that.
Bad end number 2. Wow. Jane recalls bad memories. The fall. Everything had started going wrong after that fall. This is the music from dang it, I can't remember. Passerbys. passers-by. That's what this music's from. She had been sprinting towards the finish, ready to clinch another first when her right leg buckled beneath her. The baton went spinning through the air, out of her frantic grasp. She went crashing to the ground. Silence from the crowd. Silence from the doctor when she asked if she could ever compete again. Silence after she screamed, her voice hoarse. Silence, of course, from her coach and teammates. You sensed Jane take a step forward. No, actually, everything had already been wrong before the fall. She just hadn't realized it. She should have realized it earlier. As the number of medals had increased, so had the pain. The number of strokes of the cane on her bare calves when she couldn't beat her previous record. The jealousy of her teammates when she did. She concealed the physical scars with sports tape, the emotional ones with fake apathy. She had nightmares every night, limped through the door, crying every afternoon, but dragged herself out of bed every morning. Because as long as she could run, as long as she could feel the wind in her face and the fire in her lungs, passion would be her painkiller. You sense Jane take another step. Now. She still has the nightmares, the cold treatment from her peers because, of course, her teammates had spread nasty rumors about her, but she can never run again. There's no more passion to save her from the loneliness, the fear, the depression, the words.
Useless.
I can hear the microphone spike. That's awesome. Whisper through her mind. You can hear it.
And that is why you, my little whips of consciousness, are here to save.
Oh, so I am so self-important? Save Jane from ending herself. There's no other option. So what will you do? Here's the other endings I've been searching for. Recall her mother's words, recall her father's words. I'm gonna go with the father. For some reason, I get a bad vibe from the mother's words. Well, I've never been more wrong in my life. You horrible child! After all that I've sacrificed for you, you choose to injure yourself. Well, it wasn't really a choice, but be grateful I bother even to continue providing for you. Oh, wow. You fool, Jane's father is her coach. Really, with the cheesy carnival music? Really? Why else do you think neither of her parents noticed her miserable state? They divorced after her father started roughhousing her in the name of training her to be the world-class athlete. Her mother wanted to take Jane with her, but Jane refused. She thought that by leaving with her mother, she was being weak, unfaithful to her passion. And who else implanted that throughout her mind but her father? Well, now you know. Jane steps forward and dies. Plummets to her death. Return to last checkpoint. Bad end number 3. Is there a good end other than bittersweet? Is there really, truly a good end? Recall her mother's words. Oh, a voice from above. You may not understand now, Jane, but Mama wants to leave with me and be happy. I love you, Jane. It can't change your decision to stay with Papa, but know that whatever happens, you can come to me anytime. I'll always be there for you. Interlude. Turns out that Jane's father is her coach and her mother divorced him after they started roughhousing, training to be a world-class athlete. Her mother wanted to take Jane, but Jane refused, thought it would make her weak, unfaithful to her passion, and who else implanted that but her father? Her father had always been the harsh, unyielding one, her mother the patient and unforgiving one. Back to the present. You sense tears pooling in Jane's eyes. The world spins as she stumbles away from the building's edge, down the stairwell into her father's apartment. As she shoves her belongings into an empty suitcase, you sense a new resolve blossoming in her mind, pushing away the darkness that occupied it moments ago. Huzzah! Jane leaves the apartment, suitcase in one hand, unsent letters scrawled with her mother's address in the other, and heads off into the sunset to find her mother who loves her mother who has told her that she is not weak to leave behind the torment of her past for a better future.
Congratulations.
Awesome.
You have saved Jane.
Heck yeah. After leaving the abusive relationship with her father for her mother's love, she slowly but surely recovers from her depression and traumatic past. The nightmares gradually cease, the cane marks fade, the emotional scars never fully heal, but she learns to cope with them, and she eventually finds herself leading a happy and peaceful existence. You too, for you are a part of Jane's consciousness. Remember though, that suicide is not a game. You don't get multiple tries to stop one. Happy end. Wow. this was very cool. This was a very good follow-up to just overall the development. I could very much sense darker and psychological aspects that she includes in her games, and it's very cool. It's always a pleasure to play these games. I really enjoy them. They're always mentally challenging, and it's always very good to get a new perspective on subjects. I'm not going to put this in that certain playlist because it has a happy ending. It has a nice resolve, and even though it deals with those elements, I believe that this is more of a triumph of indie development itself. This is very cool, and I really enjoy this. I really enjoy what's going to come next from the development. I'm going to again link the developers' link in the description below so you can see all of the games that she has made in the past, and they're very cool. They're very enjoyable, at least for me, and I really like these games. So ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately we have come to the end of our time and the end of my gushing, so I'm afraid I must bid you a good evening and a good night. I'll see ya.